Welcome, friends of freedom, to my Conspiracy Theory Summit. I'm your host, Valencia. I bet right now you're thinking, who's Valencia? Well, I'm like you, a person who was upset with what was happening to our government and us today. Some of the answers kept coming in my head as to why this was happening. I grew up believing that everything out there that was told to me was the truth. And I never questioned it, I just believed it. And then after a while, things just didn't work out right, and I wasn't happy with it. So I started asking questions and finding out different things were happening. There were conspiracies, and I wanted to know more. So what I did is I looked over it and I found out. It took me about 18 years to figure out what was going on and what some of those things were. So what I did now today is I've collected several speakers for my Conspiracy Theory Summit so that you didn't have to spend 18 years to learn the same things I've had to learn. Now, before we get started, though, I have two items of business to go over. The first one is in order for you to get a full benefit of this interview, please browse to Peymon Mottahedeh's interview page. Type this link into the page at the top, www.conspiracytheorysummit.com/Peymon. Peymon. Peymon. You'll know you're at the right page when you see the photo of Peymon Mottahedeh. There are now multiple things you can do on that page, but right now all you want you to do is go down to the comments section. Go ahead down there. While you're viewing this interview, please post any speaker quotes, any ideas you have, any questions that comes to your mind. Okay, now let's get started. Today our guest speaker is Peymon Mottahedeh, and I know I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, Mottahedeh. Now, Peymon Mottahedeh was born on October 9, 1962, in a Jewish family in Iran. He came to the United States in 1977 and received his Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration from Cal State University, Long Beach. As soon as Peymon became a naturalized American in 1989, he registered to vote as a Libertarian and became an active member of the Libertarian Party. In 1992, Peymon got introduced to the Freedom Law Patriot movement. He founded the Freedom Law School in January 1st of 1996. After several years of intense study of the U.S. Constitution, the law on Americans' rights, Freedom Law School educates thousands of average Americans about their rights, the law, and freedom. Welcome, Peymon.
Thank you, Valencia, for having me.
Now, well, we're very grateful to have you here. I mean, you're a wealth of knowledge, and there's a lot of stuff that you can be teaching us what we need to know, and that's what we're going to attempt here today. Now, Peymon, first of all, can you tell us a little bit about your journey on how you were drawn to the IRS and that 16th Amendment?
Well, I always was interested in freedom. Growing up in Iran, a country where we had no freedom, where the Shah of Iran was a complete dictator, and he could just do whatever he wanted to you. Kidnap you, prison you, torture you, summary execute you. He had those powers. So coming to America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, I was very delighted to be here and living free in America, the freest, most prosperous nation in the world. So when I went to my college university classes in the early 80s, I realized that America is not a free country. It's a fascist, socialist government where the big banks and corporations are in bed with the politicians, the owner. And they throw some social benefits to keep the masses happy, that the government actually represents them and does something for the people. So in 1992, I was listening to a radio, and I heard on there this lady claim that the income tax is voluntary. Well, as a person who was knowledgeable in finances, because my study was in business and finance and economics, that's what I studied at the University of California, I was very interested. How come this person claims there is no law requiring the average ordinary American like you or me to file and pay the federal income tax? So I got her number and called her at night. And she promised me that she would prove to me that income tax is voluntary. I went to the meeting she had that night, and sure enough, she didn't give me opinion. She did not give me what she thought it was. She actually showed me the law. She showed me the IRS code. She showed me the U.S. Constitution. The IRS's own 1040 booklet that the government, gets us to fill out this 1040 form to give up our rights. One of the most important rights we have, guaranteed by the Constitution, is the right to be silent and say nothing. The so-called Fifth Amendment guaranteed right to be silent. O.J. Simpson, any suspected murderer, rapist, has a right to be silent and say nothing, and can be found innocent, even though he says nothing at all. Yet the U.S. government on a 1040 book warns everybody that any information you give them, they can share with counties, with states, and foreign governments even. So I thought, wow, anything I tell the IRS, they could turn around, even give it to the government of Iran someday, that they may use against me. Well, obviously this has to be voluntary. Why would I have to give this information to the government for them to use against me? Because after all, the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution does clearly state that one does not have to give information that may be used against him by the government to put him in prison. And after seeing all this and more that I verified at this meeting, I realized that in the land of the free and home of the brave, there is a freedom movement, an actual freedom movement, which is not really underground. They're not trying to hide. They're out in the open. But you do not hear about them in the major media of America. ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, Fox, the major newspapers, magazines, Time and Newsweek, they don't talk about them except maybe to put them down once in a while. And so I was quite amazed that why in such a free country we would have a freedom movement to begin with. And I met more people in this movement who educated me more about all this. They shared with me that the government claims that the income tax is based upon the 16th Amendment or addition to the U.S. Constitution. And I also learned of a man named Bill Benson who traveled all the states of the Union in America at the time of the ratification of the 16th Amendment in the early 1910s. And Mr. Benson proved that the 16th Amendment was not properly ratified by the proper number of states to be added to the U.S. Constitution. It's all proven. Others also proved that the 16th Amendment did not give any new taxing powers to the U.S. government. So I was amazed at all this new information. I was wondering, wow, why don't American people know about it? Why are they not winning? Why are we people paying income tax? Now, for me, I filed the income tax return only twice in my life before with my ex-wife. That's it. You know, this whole taxing thing was ever kind of new to me because I was a foreigner. You know, I wasn't born here. Had no parents here, no uncles, aunts to help or direct me. So I learned more about all this from the Patriot movement, the freedom lovers in America. And they used to come to Southern California where I lived and did seminars and taught these things to us. And as I learned these things, I started sharing with other people. In 1994 and 5, started teaching other people what I knew, what I had learned, and that's what led to the creation of Freedom Law School, where I started teaching Americans about how they can live free. What is the law? There's got to be a school in America that teaches the average American and how to live free. Teach them about the law and their rights. But there wasn't any. Freedom Law School that I found was the only school like that out there. So that's why I started my journey to expose the income tax fraud, to expose the fact that there's no law that requires the average American like you or me to file and pay the federal income tax. And it's gone from there to I've been doing seminars across the country for many years, many courses that I've made available for people. Our website, livefreenow.org, has a lot of great free information available for people to help themselves. And I also assist people, help them live free of IRS oppression, of government tyranny of any kind.
Well, that's very interesting. You just mentioned a couple of questions that even I know I myself have had regarding the IRS and who has the right to charge us and tax us the way we are, and how come we're not really free. So Peymon, tell us, when and how did this income tax start?
Well, America had an income tax during the Civil War, the War of the States in the 1860s, for a few years, and it was repealed after the war. But in 1913, after ratification, or so-called ratification, of the 16th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, the income tax started. And the highest tax rate was that someone making over $5 million of 1913 money, and that person would pay only 5%. I mean, the tax rate was very low, and very few people paid it. It was a tax on the very rich only. But during the course of the 20s and 30s, 1920s and 1930s, the tax rate increased. And then in the 1940s, during the World War II, the federal government started the withholding tax from people's paychecks to fund the war against the Japanese and the Germans. In fact, they even had Disney put a Donald Duck cartoon together to promote people to get him into this withholding from people's paycheck, which was supposed to be only for a 2-year period. That's it, just for 2 years during the war. But after the war, the government kept the withholding fraud going. And then by the 1950s, the income tax was entrenched, not only for decades, but also the average person had withholding from their paycheck since early 1940s. The average American got used to have money taken out of their paycheck, and then to get it back, they would have to file a 1040 income tax confession form or a return to get some of that money taken that the government took from them back. And then the fraud kept going from there, and now it's become entrenched. Now the politicians and people in government act like, hey, it's been going on for a long time, what's your problem? But the fact of the matter is, I've had a $100,000 income tax reward for anybody that could show me where is the law, the statute, written by Congress of the United States that requires you or me or the average American to file and pay the federal income tax. There is no such law. IRS has admitted to me that as of about 3 years ago, they had over 8,000 pages of files on me, spying on me. They have told me in their documents they had multiple agents and the managers and lawyers and the lawyer's manager get together to meet and conspire against me to stop me from telling about the fraud of the income tax to the American people. Yet, not one of the IRS agents, employees, or lawyers have ever come forward and show me the law that requires me, them, the average American, to file and pay the federal income tax. If there is a law, why don't any of these government agents or lawyers just come, bring it forward, and claim their $100,000 cash reward that I've offered at my website at livefreenow.org since 1999? Because it simply cannot do so. So that's what's going on out there. The government knows about it, but to the politicians, it's only about the money. They just want the money.
So, Peymon, with all of this that we're learning from you, has there been anyone inside the IRS that actually has come out to expose all of this?
Actually, yes. Back in 1997, I got a call from an IRS special agent from IRS's own Criminal Investigation Division. An agent who carried a gun, and his job was to investigate people, to bring criminal charges against them and put them in prison over income tax violations. And his name is Joseph Bannister. And he was very doubtful of the claims of me and others in the freedom movement that the whole income tax was a fraud. There's no law requiring you and me, the average American, to file and pay the federal income tax. But after a year of investigation and research on his own, and listening to Freedom Law School's courses, like our course called A Practical Road to Freedom from Oppressive Taxation and Control, Level 1, he was able to verify that what we've been telling him about income tax is true. And he wrote a book about the income tax. And he gave it to the IRS in early 1999. His bosses in IRS's San Jose, California office, and asked him to refute his findings in the book. He was told by the Commissioner of Internal Revenue to report any fraud, any malfeasance, nonfeasance, wrongdoing, abuse of power by any government official in the IRS. And he thought he was doing his job by reporting this to the IRS. His book was sent to IRS's highest quarters in Washington, D.C.'s Criminal Investigation Division headquarters. And you think the IRS came and showed him where he was wrong? Here's a law, read it. This is a law that requires the average American to file and pay the federal income tax? No. They didn't do that. They simply told Mr. Bannister, we're not going to answer you. And if you want, you can resign. We'll give you a week off and resign if you want. And so he did. Because Mr. Bannister took his oath to God and the American people to uphold and defend the U.S. Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic, more important than just following orders of his superiors. And then a nonprofit foundation called We the People Foundation for Constitutional Education brought Mr. Bannister from California down to Washington, D.C. to debate the government about the legality of the income tax issue. Multiple times they brought Mr. Bannister from California to D.C., to Washington, D.C. And the IRS was invited, the top officials of the IRS, and the United States Department of Justice, the lawyers of the government, that put people in jail for tax crimes. They were invited. So were heads of Congress and Senate. They were invited. Yet none of them even once showed up to debate Mr. Bannister on the legality of income tax. Yet, in 2004, the government charged Mr. Bannister with tax crimes. But even though Mr. Bannister had not filed a tax return of any kind with the IRS for year 2000 and forward, the IRS never charged him with any tax crimes for not filing tax returns. They charged him with other stuff, but not for not having filed an income tax return. And the Commissioner of Internal Revenue, Mr. Everson himself, spoke about Mr. Bannister, that Mr. Bannister knew what he was doing. He was an IRS agent. At trial in 2005, the jury saw through the whole thing, saw that Mr. Bannister is innocent. The government had no case against him. They said not guilty, and Mr. Bannister was free and still remains free. And yet the IRS to this day never has charged him for tax crime for not having filed a 1040 income tax confession form. In fact, one time, Jason Furman, the economic advisor to the Clinton White House, told Mr. Bob Schultz, the head of this We the People Foundation, who took Mr. Bannister to Washington, D.C. to debate the IRS on the legality of the income tax, that, quote, the legality of the income tax is not a high priority item at the White House. And we will not participate in any conference on the subject. Why doesn't the government care, folks, if the income tax is legal? They don't care if it's legal or not. The legality of this actions of government doesn't matter. Who doesn't care about legality of their actions? Criminals, murderers. We have a bunch of criminals taking over the U.S. government They don't care if it's legal or not. They just want the money. To the politicians, it's all about the money. And they don't want to come talk about it in public conferences. Why? Well, what else? They want to hide it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to expose it. And so this fraud has been going on for too long against the innocent American people. And my job at Freedom Law School is to educate them about all this and empower them, assist them to live free now of the suppressive taxation and control that American people have been put under.
Well, wow, I really thank you for that. It's quite enlightening as to all the things that have been going on there, and I, for one, have to really buckle down and start learning a lot more of that stuff. So, friends, here we are. We have Peymon up here, and he has given us so much information here. Now, if you aren't already on Peymon's audience dashboard, I'd like you to go there now. You go there by typing in your address bar at the top of your browser, www.conspiracytheorysummit.com/Peymon. That's Peymon. Peymon. Now, you'll know that you're on the right page when you see the words audience dashboard and you see the picture photo of Peymon himself. Now, Peymon has a free gift, especially for you, that he's going to talk about a little bit later on. Actually, I'm going to ask him about it now. Now, Peymon, your free gift, your free thank you gift, is called Free Weekly Conference Call. In a sentence or two, could you please describe for our viewers what they're getting with this free conference call? Thank you gift.
I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask me questions about freedom, law, your rights, how to live free of oppressive taxation and control on a weekly conference call on Tuesday nights. So you have your questions fully answered.
That's wonderful. We couldn't ask for anything more, because a lot of times, you know, we learn things in a book or somebody tells us something, but we don't have a support. I think these conference calls make a very great support for us to be able to continue learning all about the IRS fraud and everything. Now, friends, I'll tell you in a few moments how to get your free thank you card, but while you're on this page, we need you to want you to find this big special offer button. Just scroll down until you see this big, huge orange special offer button. It's very easy to locate. Now, click on that button. Once you've clicked on it, you'll know you're on the right page, because it'll say special offer. It'll actually say Peymon Mottahedeh's Practical Road to Freedom. Sorry. Now, on this page, you can read all about it. His exclusive special offer that he's going to have us in this interview today. Now, Peymon, your package is called Practical Road to Freedom. In 2 or 3 sentences, please tell us a little bit about what your special offer package that you have and that your team has put together for our viewers today.
Well, this package has over 20 hours of education. Tells you what you want to know, what you need to know, on how to live free now in very practical, doable things like the income tax, traffic tickets, corrupt government officials, and more.
Well, that's a big package. Anybody should be grateful that they can get 20 hours worth of this. Now, friends, I'd like you to take Peymon up on this special offer for his exclusive special package. It's over 50% discounted from the original cost. So scroll to the top of the screen and click on that Add to Cart button. The rest is easy. Just fill out the form and submit the order. And remember that in a moment, I'll be telling you about Peymon's free gift. Now, Peymon, I'm more curious than ever about all of this stuff that's been going on. Could you please explain what is natural law?
Natural law is the highest law there is. Natural law is even above the U.S. Constitution. Natural law is what the U.S. Constitution was designed meant to protect. People's, Americans' natural rights. That's what the Declaration of Independence speaks about when it says all men are created equal. Among those rights are right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. There's the laws of nature that we cannot violate. And if we do violate them, it only ends up hurting ourselves. Like gravity. If you go on a rooftop, okay, and then jump down, you're going to get hurt. Because law of gravity will pull you down and will end up hurting you. So do not go against the law of gravity. If you mix oxygen with hydrogen, you will get water. It's a law of nature. That's how it works. It's natural law. Now people ask, well, is there any natural laws when it comes to human behavior and human relations? And the answer is yes. There is natural laws. And those natural laws come down to just two simple things. One, the first principle of natural law is do not violate other people's rights. What are those rights? Well, start with right to life. The Creator gave us all life. Two, you have a right to be free. Do as you want to do. It's your life, not someone else's. It's your life. You could do with it as you please with your life. And you have a right to pursue your own happiness. Live your life the way you want to. Eat what you want to do. Live where you want to live. However, you must do so at the same time that you do not violate other people's rights. You must keep your agreements. If you make an agreement, you just bound yourself by your word. So do not give your word unless you plan to keep it. If you give your agreement, then that is a law unto you. Because you made it law by you declaring it that you agreed to something. If you agreed to pay somebody for a pound of oranges, $1, he gives you the oranges, you must pay that person the $1 that you agreed to. It's that simple. That's it. The two basic principles of natural law are do not violate other people's rights and keep your agreements with other people. Everything else is window dressing. Now even a 4-year-old child understands this. They know not to hurt the other child, not to take the other child's toys, without their permission. Right? Don't beat them up. You cannot do that. They know that. Also, we all know that if you give your word to somebody, make an agreement, you should keep your agreement. So these are not complex stuff. That was the intent of the Declaration of Independence, to declare that Americans have natural rights given to them by the Creator. That the government is only created to secure those rights, all those natural rights. And years later, they put together the U.S. Constitution for the purpose of securing those natural rights, to guarantee those natural rights that we have inherently. We all do. Every human being has it. Born in China, Iran, Cuba, America, France, Germany, doesn't matter. We all have the same rights. Natural rights. And by the natural law. And the U.S. government's job, and the governments in America, the states and the counties, that are their legitimate power and right, is to protect our natural rights from those outside who may wish to take away our rights. Now, it's true that the governments themselves often become the lawbreakers, and they want to take away our rights, our natural rights. They want to violate the natural law. But that's not what they're supposed to be doing. They are supposed to be protecting natural law, natural rights, the highest form of law that exists.
Wow. I really agree with you on that one. I've always felt in my own heart that there was a law that gave everybody the right to live and to be respected and to live as they choose. So what I'd like to know is, how can a person live a free life in harmony with that natural law?
Well, first of all, people need to understand in their head that the rights do not come from the government. Our rights do not come from the U.S. Constitution. The Constitution of the United States does not give you or me any rights. It only is meant to act as a mechanism to restrict the government. Make sure they don't violate your rights. That's one. They got to understand that. Because when people come with a wrong perspective, they come out with a perspective of slavery, that, oh, I'm just here what the government tells me to do. That, they're the boss, they're the government, I got to do what they tell me. Wrong. Turn it around. They work for you. You are the boss of them. They work for you. So that's important, you get that right perspective of who's the boss. You, the American people, you are the boss. And they are your public servants. Secondly, I educate them about what is the U.S. Constitution all about. What does it do more specifically? And what kind of a government did it create? How is it organized? How is it structured? How is it supposed to operate? What powers are different parts of government machinery given? To do what? And given all that, what was the intent of these governmental units or entities? After people understand that, then I explain to them how, unfortunately, we've gotten away from all that. How we gotten away from that, and we have to now go back to the intent of the U.S. Constitution and natural law and natural rights to protect your rights, your freedom, your life, your money. So then after that understanding and of that information, then the person is ready for me to give them actual, basic, technical, how to do knowledge on how to live free. What you need to do, what you shouldn't do. People make a lot of mistakes. A lot of good, freedom-loving patriots make a lot of mistakes, doing the wrong things that they thought would make him more free, but actually makes him a slave. Hurts them. So I tell people, avoid these common pitfalls and mistakes. Then I show them what to do. What you should do this and you should do that. What are the proper steps for you to take to be able to live a free life? What are the correct steps for you to take to assert your rights? What do you do when the IRS agent writes to you? A government agent knocks on your door or calls you out of nowhere, or a policeman comes on the highway and asks you some questions. What do you do? The average person says, well, okay, whatever you say, because they don't know what to do. They live in fear of the government. And my answer is, you don't need to live in fear of the government. They work for you. You are their boss. The problem has been you don't know how you're supposed to assert yourself as the master of these public servants out there. So I teach people the proper techniques and approaches to handle these government agents and live free of this oppressive taxation system and control that's out there at all levels. The IRS, the police, traffic tickets, civil rights violations, all kind of abuse of power by government officials. How do you properly put a stop to that? That's what the courses I put together at Freedom Law School, multiple courses I put together at Freedom Law School are designed to do, to help the person, help themselves live free now. Not 5, 10 years from now, but now. And I also put together at Freedom Law School freedom packages that include education and support, unlimited consultation, and even unlimited support. I even help people write the letters to the IRS to get them off their back. Whatever IRS writes to you, just send it to me. Email it to me, and I'll email back the response to you, to these guys. And when they contact you back, get that to Freedom Law School, and the proper response will be sent back to you again to get them off your back. Because, folks, America was meant to be a free country. You were meant to be free. Why are we not free? Number one reason for that, I believe, is our own ignorance. We just don't know what to do or what to say. I'll teach you all that so you can enjoy the fruits of liberty for yourself and your family now.
Wow, I really thank you for that, Peymon. It's quite a lot to take in. You know, you've spent so many years developing and learning all of this stuff, and now you're teaching it to us who don't know, and we need to know, and we need to be able to take control of our life again. All right, friends, now you should be at Peymon's special offer page. If not, here's the way you go and do that now. Go up to your browser's address bar, type in www.conspiracytheorysummit.com/Peymon, Paymon. That's Peymon. And then what you do from there is you scroll down and you'll see this big orange special offer button. And you'll click on that special offer button. And it will take you to Peymon's special offer page. Now in that page, you can scroll through. He's got the package, which is called Practical Road to Freedom. And it's got several modules. Take a look at Module 1. It's about law, freedom, and the government. This is something he's been talking to us about throughout this whole interview. And there's more in there, but I want to go to module number 9 as well. Now that one, he gives you techniques and strategies on how to live free. And these are so, so important for us all to be able to live a happier, freer life. Now go ahead, take a look, and take advantage of Peymon's special offer at this exclusive over 50% discount. Click on the Add Cart button now. The rest is easy. Just fill in the form and then click Submit Order. Remember, this is an over 50% discount for only $97. And I, for one, want to get that package because I have a lot of loopholes, a lot of little holes in my understanding of what my rights are and what I can say and how assertive I can be. And I'm sure you do too. Otherwise you wouldn't be here, and neither would I. Now, for just for a few more minutes, I'm going to ask Peymon for a little more information, just so that we can, pick his brain a little bit more. Now, Peymon, now you talked about Joseph Bannister as one of your students that who was an IRS man. Are there any other students that went through your program that possibly did something, achieved something, or had a conflict or whatever with our government and succeeded? Can you give us some names, explain a little bit of what they did, or what the outcome was?
Well, the vast majority of students that I assist with, educate them to live free, they want to maintain their privacy and don't come under attack by the government. I mean, Joe Bannister had a very special situation. He was one of them. He quit publicly. But most of them, they just want to be left alone. So I've assisted many to, for example, I have students who IRS claim they owe them $100,000 or $500,000 or $4 million plus. And I'll help them zero it out. Not reduce it to $10,000 or $5. No, a big fat zero. I've had help people to remove IRS's illegal liens, levies on people's paycheck bank accounts, even get the money back the IRS illegally stole. $10,000, $50,000, $100,000. I've assisted people get the money back and force the IRS to pay interest on that money as well, by the way. Yes. When they take your money legally, they got to give it back with interest. So I've done that, and because these people do not want to be attacked by the government, singled out, they have me white out their names, give the identifying information, and then I put these documents of their victories, actual court cases, actual IRS documents and letters removing these liens and levies. and these things on our website at livefreenow.org under victories. And so this is how I've helped most people, is actually help the average ordinary person. It doesn't matter what I can do for me. What matters is what I can do for you, make it work for you, and how you can have it work for you. So that to me, that's been my most proudest moments, is when I can empower people to help themselves or system to live free with actual real results. And that's what I always look for, is to help people help themselves. And I'm always looking for people who are interested in learning this stuff and teaching others, teaching other people about freedom, about restoring freedom in America, which is why I'm a part of Congressman Jim Traficant's Project Freedom USA, to get rid of the income tax, get rid of the Federal Reserve monetary system, and restore freedom to America. Because that is my ultimate goal, is to restore natural law. We're going to start with getting rid of the income tax, the money system, the Federal Reserve got to go, and it all happens by first, every freedom-loving individual like you, if you care about freedom, if you want to be free in your heart of hearts, you really want to be free, I help you be free first. And then you can share that with other people. Hey, they can be free too. And get out the message that we can do something, that we can live free if we educate ourselves and then take action.
Wow, that's great. One of the things we definitely need is to be able to unite and be able to know and understand these things, so we can get rid of the IRS and several other institutions that even I know shouldn't be, you know, what I say, controlling our life basically, and making life difficult for us. And sometimes we think it's our fault. I know that I went through many of that where I thought it was my fault. I did something wrong, and I now know it wasn't me. And one of the things that I would like you to expand on just a little bit, Peymon, not a whole lot, just a little bit, is, and it just went over my head, and that it has to do with how can we when we interact with the IRS, how we can be confident in what we say to them. I know it has to do with your courses, but just give us a little peek in, say, give us an example of a scenario. Like, say, the IRS wants to garnish our wage. How do we react to that, and what do we actually do? Just briefly.
Well, let me go over something more basic than that, and that is the basic strategy people need to understand is that the government is not your friend anymore. There are good people in government, but the institution has been turned around, like the IRS, to harass you, to abuse you. So if an IRS agent or government official calls you out of nowhere, okay, you don't answer the door. You don't even say who you are. You just simply ask who they are, and without confirming whether you live there or not, whether you are there at all or not, you tell them, look, if you are truly from the government, put your request or your question in writing and send it to that person who you believe lives in this house. Then that person in this house will review your letter, your questions with counsel, and will respond to your request and questions appropriately. In other words, make them put what they want in writing. Do not talk to them. Do not talk to government agents. Do not give them information, because they can and will use that information against you. So that's the most important thing people need to understand, is to have the government agent put their request in writing. Then you can be clear what they want. You can get assistance, second opinion from your counsel, and then you can formulate the proper response. And the proper response sometimes is nothing, no response, just ignore them. It's none of their business. But sometimes you should give a proper written response. But force them to put their request in writing, Valencia.
Oh, thank you. That's very good to know. In other words, we don't even have to accept phone calls per se, or just tell them, hey, send it to me in a letter. And they have to abide by that, correct?
That is correct. If you ask them to put it in writing, they have to do that. I had one of my students years ago told me, Peymon, and a guy, IRS agent, claims to have called me, and I told him, I don't know who you are. You could be my neighbor spying on me. How do I know you really with the IRS? And the IRS agent supposedly came by and left his card at his door. And then he got a call a few days later. I'm agent so-and-so. Came by your house. Left you my card. And the student's response was, how do I know that? You could be my neighbor, picked up the business card, and spying on me, calling me. You see, it's got to be in a written form, so there's no misunderstanding, no miscommunication. And you have time to go over it with your counsel if need be, and think about it, analyze it, and prepare a well thought out response in writing. And most people, unfortunately, hang themselves by simply start talking to the government, to the IRS agents, and get themselves in trouble. In fact, I heard a U.S. Supreme Court Justice one time said, it's the wise man that knows that when he talks less to the government, he doesn't cooperate with the IRS, he's actually in a better position than the one that talks and gives all kind of information to the government, thinking, oh, I'm going to give them what they want, so they'll leave me alone. They want to appease the IRS, the government. Do not appease them. Fight for your rights by forcing them to do the work, by having them do whatever they want in writing first, Valencia.
Well, thank you, Peymon, very much. I so appreciate you. I appreciate all that you've told us today, and I'm very, very grateful for some of this information. Even I didn't know with what research I had done. Well, friends, I'm sorry, but we're out of time right now. So I got to get to that promise I made you and tell you about Peymon's free gift. So you'll find that. You should be on the audience dashboard. If not, I will repeat another time how to get there. You go up to your browser's address bar and you type in www.conspiracytheory.com/Peymon. And when you get to that page, you'll scroll down to the special offer button and click on that. Once you get to that page, scroll all the way to the bottom and you'll see a little red box, and that says the thank you gift. And what you do is you just put in your name and email address there, and you'll click on it, and within seconds in your email you'll receive your instructions on how to get that thank you gift. No long-term waiting or anything. Now, Peymon, just for a little bit, can you once again explain to us a little bit about your thank you gift and what it was including? Just, I think we went over it already once, but let's just for a little bit tell them again what it is that the thank you gift is going to do for them.
Well, people come to me oftentimes, Valencia, being harassed by the IRS, by the police, by government agents and agencies, and they really don't know what to do. And attorneys out there, they want to charge you a lot of money just to even talk to you and give you, a little assistance. Well, Freedom Law School believes that we all have a right to associate with like-minded people to protect ourselves from abuse by abusive government agents and agencies. And so I help people with these things. But because I'm so busy, I'm going to make myself available once a week on Tuesday nights for people who have questions to call. I'm going to give you the opportunity, folks, to call me on Tuesday night, and I'll be taking my time to answer questions of those callers like you who call and find out about the IRS, the income tax, the police, any bureaucracy. And in fact, you can fax, email, or mail me up to even 10 pages of paperwork to me first, ahead of the conference call time. And I will review that paperwork before the conference call and during the conference call with you, ask you some more questions about what you got, what are your goals, what do you want to accomplish, and I will direct you to a direction you want and need to go to find the freedom answers that you have been looking for.
Well, thank you again, Peymon. Friends, thank you for being here and viewing this interview with Peymon Mottahedeh and his Freedom Law School. It's time to go, and Peymon, thank you again, and friends, goodbye. Bye, Peymon.
Thank you for having me. Goodbye.